Hi everyone, you're in the studio with Andy Kumanov, and today I'm going to be showing you a powerful technique, musical referencing, which can help you overcome writer's block, come up with great new ideas. So let's dive right in. So we're going to be talking about, in the context of a chord progression that I made for a track of mine, Beamlight. This is how it goes, right here. So Beamlight was inspired mainly by, inspired by many things, but musically it was inspired by Lycka and Oliver Smith's Pressure. So this is Lycka. So I was able to get the Lycka MIDI online. In many cases, the tracks that you like, you'll be able to find them online. So I really liked the scale that was used. So right after I found the MIDI, I wanted to kind of figure out what was being done here. And let's just see. So what I would be doing is on the left here, I'd just be looking at every single note and writing it out, just to figure out what scale slash key this track is in. Let's see here. I'm doing this on the fly just so that it's a little bit easier to follow and that you're not presented with too much info at once. Yeah, so just write everything out and then copy and paste it over so that you can kind of see it over an octave or two. And then kind of leave the bottom note of the first chord as the bottom. Okay, so now we have our scale here. So let's compare what we just pulled out from Lycka here to what would be F sharp minor. So F sharp minor would have a kind of interval separation of tone. This is, since this is a semitone, this is tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone. So we can see that this is not F sharp minor. So let's just take this, copy it over. Oh, I think I shifted a tiny bit, a little bit off here. So let's copy this over and then take this and then drag until we find the match. So that's not matching, or at least the closest match possible. So this one looks really, really close. Let's see if there's any other ones. So in every other case, I noticed that other than this one, there's at least two things that are wrong, whereas here it seems like it's only this one, but it's likely because Lycka just didn't utilize that second note. So we can see that it's actually in C sharp minor, because we first assumed that it was F sharp minor, but it didn't work out. So we dragged it until we were able to find a match, and that match was C sharp minor. Now, it's pretty much in the same scale, it's just a different starting point. So how does this work? So even though it's C sharp minor, it ends up starting, the first chord starts on a different note, F sharp. So what is F sharp in the context of C sharp minor? So this is C sharp minor. This would be D sharp Locrian, just a different mode, different starting point. E major, and then we would get to F sharp Dorian. So we now know that it's an F sharp Dorian. Then if you were to continue going, it's G sharp Phrygian, A Lydian, B Mixolydian, and then it cycles again. So those are all the modes. So what really inspired me in Lycka was essentially the scale that it was in, as well as kind of some of the chords and how they finished. So I really liked that. The other thing that inspired me was Oliver Smith's Pressure, and more importantly, how the chords have the bottom bass movement. So let's listen. Okay, so what I really liked is the A-B, A-C style composition, where you have an A segment that repeats, and then you have a B segment and a C segment, both of which are different. This helps create kind of a lot of familiarity while retaining a lot of interest, so because it doesn't completely repeat itself. So I really like the way the bass movement happens. So I wanted to take this inspiration for this style of A, B, A, C composition that kind of, started here, went up, then went down, and then started again on the A, but then the C ended up being higher than anything that was before, because you can tell the second segment here is lower than the first, and then the second segment is higher than anywhere that it's been before. So I wanted to take that idea and bring it to the Dorian mode, which is what I did here. So you can see a lot of the things that are read here are in many ways very similar to Lycka. And I really liked how Lycka ended, so I decided to keep the ending. But since I like the Oliver Smith pressure A B A C style, so A B A C style composition, I wanted to bring that into Beamlight here. So what I needed was a different B, since I didn't have that. I had my A C and A, but I didn't have my B. So what did I do? I took a look at what pressure did. It went lower. So I knew I had to use, based on the scale that I pulled out of Lycka, I had to find a lower note that was used. And just in the scale, it ended up being the next one over that sounded good to me was the major. So I experimented with that, just using, in this case, just basic triads. Kind of, you can't really go wrong as a starting point when you're writing chords. So yeah, you have just the third, and then the B here is just the fifth, so 7 semitones up, if you look at the scale. So yeah, that just filled in my chord, and then I decided to kind of play with contrast, because I have some chords that are kind of narrow in the frequency spectrum, wide in the frequency spectrum, so it also creates a bit of play. I made sure that chords in many cases didn't have many notes changing from one chord to the next, unless it was in some cases where I kind of had a semitone movement that really drives it to the next chord. So it was good to play with really smooth voice leading, meaning not a lot of chord notes changing from one chord to the next, as well as a bit of contrast with having one that has literally no voice leading. So it kind of acts like a very effective melody pushing forward. So I hope that helped all of you and inspired you in many ways how you can extract, kind of combine ideas. Just another note here, Oliver Smith's pressure, I wasn't able to find the MIDI online. So what I did was I assumed this is the audio file. I then just put a spectrum, and I was able to take a look at what notes were being played. So if we were to loop just this chord, for example, because you can hear where the chords are changing, where they're not. You can then put a spectrum and then kind of just take a look at what peaks near the beginning of the kind of chord playing. If we play, you'll be able to see here. So it's pretty evident that these are the bottom notes of the chords, and if you just kind of look over which notes they are, so B, F sharp, B, D sharp, F sharp, and then let's compare it to what it actually was. Yeah, so B, F sharp, and D sharp, exactly what I was able to find from the spectrum. If you're dealing with a bit of a busy mix, you might find that you also have a bunch of stuff here. So it's good to take a look between about 100 and 1,000 hertz. That's usually where most of the melodic content will be found, and you won't have to deal with the rather round peaks you'd find if you're dealing with an audio file that has the bass and the kick already mixed. Anyway, I hope this helped you, and you can create something awesome out of this. So we'll be back next time.